Hi, and welcome to the Thrive Alcohol Free podcast. I'm Dupe Witherick, alcohol free wellbeing and transformational coach, and the best selling author of A Cocktail of Clarity, How to Ditch Drinking, Embody a Joyful New Identity, and Thrive Alcohol Free. This podcast will show you that being alcohol-free is not what the traditional narrative says. And even though alcohol is so ingrained in our society that it is okay to give yourself permission to stop drinking if you want to. And you do not have to wait until you hit rock bottom. It is certainly not boring, and I believe ditching drinking is just the start to living an extraordinary life. By getting rid of this one thing, it allows the doors to open to endless possibilities and opportunities. Each week, we will have guests on who are at various stages of the alcohol-free journey, from those who are curious to those who have been alcohol-free for years. We will also have experts on talking about different topics relating to alcohol and beyond. Through these conversations, you will discover what it means to thrive alcohol-free. Enjoy. Hi, and welcome to the latest episode of the Thrive Alcohol Free podcast. I'm so pleased that you are here, and I hope you've had a wonderful week. So in this episode, I'm going to be talking to the lovely Laura Willoughby from Club Soda and the Club Soda tasting rooms. And so, yeah, excited to share that with you. But before we go on to that, I wanted to make a little announcement. So I'm really excited to exclusively invite you to my Finding Freedom retreat in Bali this summer. So I've decided to host a retreat in Bali, which is really exciting. And it's the Thrive Alcohol Free Women's Bali Retreat. And it's happening the 28th of July to the 4th of August. And it's going to be a beautiful, intimate group of women who will meet to really experience more creativity, courage, joy, and freedom in their lives. And so if that's something you are looking for, I'd love you to join me. You've taken the amazing step of ditching drinking, and now it's time to fully claim the thriving life you were always meant to enjoy. In 1 week, you will have a highly immersive and transformative experience where you'll fully embody what it means to thrive alcohol-free. And as you know, I always talk about ditching drinking being the piece you have to do, but it's really what's next. And so this retreat will merge self-discovery, personal empowerment with adventure, and of course the Balinese culture. So if you are looking to step away from the everyday stresses of life and step into creativity, courage, joy, and freedom, I absolutely want you to be there, and I can't wait to meet you. It's going to be a real coming together of well-being and transformation, and I have no doubt that the experience will be part of you forever. And you will go home transformed and nourished with full clarity on how to fully step into your purpose and ultimately design the life you've always wanted. If that sounds like something you are interested in, if you've never been on a retreat or you would like to go to Bali and you'd like to do a 7-night retreat with a very small group of women, this retreat is absolutely for you if you are alcohol-free or taking a significant break from alcohol and looking for authentic connections with other alcohol-free women. It's also for you if you're looking to explore what thriving alcohol-free truly means to you. And if you're excited to experience being outside of your comfort zone and ready to immerse yourself in a journey of discovering the unique you. It's going to be in a stunning space that's designed exclusively for intimate retreats, and we have the whole space to ourselves, and it's a beautiful, beautiful venue and just perfect environment to gain clarity, to recharge, to refocus, and to ultimately find freedom. And it's a 5-minute drive from the centre of Ubud, so we'll go and explore that as well. But we will have daily yoga classes, and then we'll also have daily transformational workshops where you'll gain clarity on what thriving alcohol-free means to you. You'll release those limiting beliefs and fears that always seem to hold us back. You'll discover who you truly are and what you're capable of based on your unique human design. You'll anchor yourself by getting clear on your core values and what you stand for in life. You'll learn how to manage and process emotions and step into your true power, which is there and you might not think is there, but we've all got a huge power inside of us. And you'll reset and determine your goals based on your core values. And finally, ultimately, you're going to visualize and begin to embody what living in true freedom looks like for you. And we have so many experiences, and all of this is included within the retreat. And just to name a few, we'll be doing a water healing ceremony, we'll be doing tea tasting and a barley swing over the rainforest. We'll be doing traditional Balinese cooking class. There'll be sound healing. We'll be going to a cave waterfall and much more. So if you are interested, the accommodation for 7 nights in a luxurious air-conditioned private deluxe room is included. Your airport transfers are included. You'll also get a one-on-one personalized human design reading before the retreat, so you can really make every experience within the retreat just more impactful because it's going to be based on your unique you. All the retreat activities are included, and as there are many of them, there is also transportation for all the activities, that's all included. And then there are the meals, and you get the majority of your meals included as well. But it's going to be such an exciting week, and I know you will be truly transformed by the end of it. And will have met some amazing women. So if this is something you are looking to do, I would love you to head to the website thrivealcoholfree.com/finding freedom retreat and have a look, and I'll leave that in the show notes. But this is absolutely going to be a retreat. It's not a vacation. So we are seeking women who really desire an immersive transformation, and all the activities and everything we've organized is really going to be there to help you and support you, your energy and your time in Bali during those 7 nights. And so I am delighted to be offering this. And again, I am exclusively inviting you to take up a spot. If you've got any questions, then feel free to let me know, and I'm happy to jump on a call to discuss if this is right for you. Okay, so today we have the wonderful Laura Willoughby MBE on. Laura is the founder of the world's largest mindful drinking movement, Club Soda, and the UK's foremost expert in low and no alcohol drinks. Club Soda runs the new low and no tasting rooms in Covent Garden, which is fabulous if you get a chance to go and visit. And Laura was named number 16 on 2023's Drinks Retailing's latest top 100 most influential people in drink. She's also one of the 100 most influential women in hospitality by Code, and is the trustee for the Drinks Trust. The Club Soda Tasting Room was Drink Retailing's Independent Retailer of the Year in 2023. And receiving an MBE for services in the community in 2004, Laura's devotion to Club Soda means that hundreds of thousands of people are supported in their journey to live well by being more mindful about drinking alcohol. So I'm delighted that we have Laura on the show. And so without further ado, here is Laura. So welcome, Laura. Thank you so much for being on the podcast. Lovely to see you.
Thank you so much. And I will apologise to all of your listeners in advance. I am in the shop, so sometimes somebody might walk past or rattle some glasses. And so just so you know what that is, that's what it is.
Wow. It's a fabulous shop, so you're absolutely allowed to do that. So we'll come on to that, because that's just, it's one of my favourite spaces in London. I'd love to talk about that a bit more, but maybe why don't we start with you and a lot of people know you, but it's always good to hear your story, Laura. So maybe you want to say, how did you end up getting to where you are now with Club Soda and tasting rooms and everything else? It would be just wonderful.
Yeah, I know it feels very funny because I've been Club Soda is 9 years this month, 9 years old. So I feel like I've been doing this a long time. But so my story is that I gave up drinking 11 years ago. My background's politics and campaigning, so largely a career fueled by cheap white wine. And I was actually ended up in a job I wasn't enjoying that didn't make me feel very fulfilled. And so my drinking went up and I really began to scare myself. And alcohol killed my dad. I knew that I was my father's daughter and that drinking was something that I was very good at. And I decided that really what I needed to do something about it. And like lots of people, I had gone, oh, well, I'm going to moderate next week. I'm going to moderate next week. And that didn't really happen. And I had a big stash of quit lit next to my bed, but it was mainly covered in red wine stains. So I decided to go on a course because that's probably the best way for me to learn, to be with other people. So I booked a day, which I think in hindsight was a really good behavior thing to do. Book a day, something I'd paid a lot of money for that I was going to go to. I told my friends that I'd booked it 2 weeks before my birthday. And then I went along to this course. It's not a course I'd recommend to anybody because it was very unethical. There were lots of people who were dependent drinkers in the room who were told to stop immediately and not given any really wraparound support. But that in itself has its own, is part of my origin story, because I actually came out of that workshop very angry about that, but starting to already think about the fact that changing drinking should be better than this. You know, we get drunk together, so why should we get sober alone? And so I mulled this over in the weeks after I gave up drinking. And like most people, giving up drinking was the thing that I focused on the most. I was very excitable. My energy came back quite quickly. And so I got addicted to this new energy and this rebellious feeling of going to the pub and not drinking. But I guess in my mind, I'd made up that I was giving up. And so I found other things to do with my time. And then a few years later, there was a program for people coming out of the public sector to look at ideas that would change the world. And so I applied with the idea for creating something that was like Weight Watchers or Slimming World with booze, because back 9 years ago, 10 years ago, you could go into a shop and buy a magazine about slimming, but if you walked in to buy something about changing drinking, you would be embarrassed about it, really. And that seemed to be completely the wrong way around. So we set up Club Soda as a community of change and started to build courses to help people change their drinking based on University College London's behaviour change science. And we got some funding to do that. And those courses are still the backbone of what we do. And they're available in particular for people who work in the drinks industry for free, because we work a lot with the hospitality sector. But I am a campaigner, and very quickly people started to say that it was all right saying not to drink when you go out, but there was nothing nice to drink. And so we got some funding for a bit of research back in 2015, where we looked at what it would take to get pubs to serve their non-drinking customers better. And we identified that there was a lack of nice drinks, and really all pubs should be run by women, all of those sorts of things. And from that, our interest in alcohol-free grew. And by the time we got to 2017, there were actually some products on the market. You know, Big Drop came along, Three Spirit, Amanda Thompson's wine was in 2018. So that things started to change. And so we put on our first festival in 2017. So we've done 10 mindful drinking festivals, loads of research, lots of campaigning, supporting brands at trade shows, but mostly talking to pubs and bars and restaurants about equality of experience. And that's what it boils down to for me, that when you go out and you're not drinking, you want an equality of experience. It shouldn't matter about the strength of the drink in your glass. And that's what Club Soda is all about. So the tasting room that we now have open in Covent Garden is an expression of our of that campaign. We're not here to be an alcohol-free only space in particular, although we do have a little bit of low, so we're not a totally alcohol-free space. This is here to prove a point. This is here to prove to restaurants and bars and everyone that there's a range of choices. They can come in and try them, and that consumers can come and taste and try before they buy as well. So this space has a very particular goal in mind. There you are, that was it in a potted nutshell. I can talk forever, can't I?
It's amazing. It was great to get that overview, and obviously we're going to delve into all of those, but I think
we chat there.
Yeah, exactly. What you've done is just incredible. And for me, without the alcohol-free options, I'm not convinced I would actually got to the point where I'd think, I'm not doing this anymore. I don't need to drink anymore. You know, I don't want to drink.
It really, really helps. And in
It's a
behavior
huge
change
difference.
terms, you're
Mm,
swapping, it's a bit like when you're on a diet, swapping a high calorie chocolate bar for a banana. You're swapping something that's still satisfying and still helps you be engaged in the social situation you're in. Just doesn't happen to have alcohol in, but it adds to your experience. I think that's what's really important. Some people will say, well, it doesn't matter, you could just drink water. But you soon feel like you're having a different experience from everyone else if you're not having a drink occasion, having a drink that is tasty and convivial and makes you feel part of the crowd.
yeah, no, absolutely. And I think it's a really great. And I know there are people that may get triggered by drinking an alcohol-free drink, and it's not for everybody. But I think for a lot of people who are potentially looking for an alternative and looking to, at least, even to your point, you said in the tasting room isn't just to serve alcohol free, you have got other things as well. And so giving people the options to try something different and experiment a little bit, which then allows them to at least think about the option, and to your point, having that sense of equality and doing something a bit different and not
Yeah,
following.
and definitely if you're changing your drinking, don't stay at home. Go out and practice your new behavior in a familiar setting and learn how to ask the bar staff for something interesting. It's amazing that for a country that's very used to going to the bar, how much we panic when we get to the bar. But, you know, take your time, ask the staff, look in advance on the website, do all of those sorts of things. You'll soon realize that you have more power than you think.
Yeah, and it's a really good point. It's something that I always say to people in terms of getting through alcohol free first, and it is being prepared. It's that preparation, isn't it? Because then that gives you that sense of control. Because if you have, you know, if you're going to a restaurant or a bar, and I think you said it, didn't you? You said that if they're asking you to charge, was it you that said it?
Yeah,
If you're,
it is. Basically, I do think you should take your own drinks, particularly if you're going for
yes.
a meal and you want wine, then definitely phone and ask if you could bring your own alcohol-free wine.
Mm,
Ask to pay corkage, but remind them that corkage is about what you won't be drinking that they would serve you instead. And it's not a wine that you're not drinking, it's a soda that you're not drinking. So you should really only pay £2.50 for, you know, taking your own alcohol-free wine in. But, you know, the more that you ask, the more that you voice what it is that you would expect to see, the more venues will go, okay, maybe we need to review our drinks list. And it does make a difference. So even if it's not a good experience for you, by asking and saying what it was you expected to see, you'll make it for better for the next person that comes along.
yeah. Yeah. And I have to say, I've had some funny experiences there, Laura, which I'll share with you. There was one, so our local pub, bar, restaurant were very good. They knew me. They were like, yeah, absolutely, bring in your stuff. This was early days for me, so I've not been drinking for 3 and a bit years. But I said, can I bring in a bottle of something? And I said, listen, I'm happy for you to charge corkage. They didn't charge me corkage.
Yeah.
Another restaurant I went to, and in advance I phoned and I said, can I bring something in? It's a special occasion. I'd like to bring my own, and I know you haven't got anything. They want to charge me £50. So I've
Yeah.
had a real range of experience.
So, but they're charging you for wine you're not having rather than a soda
Exactly.
you're not having. And
Yeah.
you need to say to them, well, you know, when I come this evening, I will only be drinking tap water. So you have had no money from me because you haven't provided for my dietary requirement. If it helps, I did something that I'm angry that I did, but it was amazing the response that I got, which is that I phoned up a restaurant and asked them if I could bring something. And they were point blank said, no, we're a wine bar. You can't bring anything. La-di-la-di-la, la-di-la-di-la. And in frustration, I said, well, look, I'm pregnant. And at which point, everything changed. Went, oh, for them, that was an acceptable reason to not be drinking. And I was like, this is ridiculous. I've just lied to them to be able to bring my own drink. Yet when I got to the meal, there were two people at the end of the table who were driving and weren't drinking. And I was like, they've missed an opportunity here to actually serve people something to go with the meal. And then you stop being so snobby.
Yeah, exactly. Gosh, okay,
Yeah.
yeah. I think it's funny, isn't it? Because one of the things when people also ask about, you know, why aren't you drinking? And everyone gets asked this question if you don't drink, and you suddenly sort of say to your friends, I'm not drinking tonight. You always have to come up with an excuse. And it does feel that you need to be pregnant, or you need to be on antibiotics to not drink if you're, it's a bit ridiculous. Okay. So why don't we talk about the tasting room? for me personally, I've been there a couple of times and I love it. And I was lucky enough to celebrate your first birthday, so you've done a year. So I think it's a great space. But if there's someone listening who has absolutely no concept of a club soda tasting room and what it's about, why don't you give them a bit of a...
So it's a hybrid shop and bar, and we've deliberately put it in the middle of Covent Garden because it doesn't matter where in the country you come from, or in fact anywhere in the world, you'll be able to pop in. Easy to find right in the centre of London. And we've always got at least sort of 16, 17 drinks available to taste. So if you would come in and say, well, I'm looking for something to replace whiskey, or I'm looking for a really good red wine, or I'd like to understand what an alcohol-free beer tastes like, we can give you some samples and you can try. And then our team are experts. So, you know, you can ask all sorts of questions and be able to find a drink that suits you. And that's the important thing, because, you know, if you picked up an alcoholic drink and didn't like it and go, well, I don't like that wine, or I don't like that beer, it doesn't stop you drinking more alcohol, does it? You go, well, okay, that I didn't like that one, but I'm sure there'll be another one I like. But people often go, well, I tried an alcohol-free beer and I don't like alcohol-free beer. But all you did was try one alcohol-free beer, and now you've decided you don't like all of alcohol-free. So our aim is to stop that happening. It's a really easy thing for people to go, oh, well, I just don't like alcohol-free because I tried a wine back in 1970. Rah. So we want to be able to bust that perception and show people that there's a whole range. And just because you don't like one thing, it doesn't mean that you wouldn't like something different. And we can try and match you with a drink that suits you. And if you want to, we've got an amazing cocktail list. We've got wines by the glass behind the bar. We've got 2 beers on draft at any one time. So you can come and sit in with friends. And if you wanted a birthday party or a celebration, we've got a space for that we don't charge for, you know, all sorts of things that you can do here. And that's quite unusual, actually, to have a space that's not charged for in central London, because bars would normally ask you for a minimum spend of £500, which, if you're not drinking, is a very lot of money to get to.
Yeah, and I think the important thing as well, because it's easy for people to say, okay, well, I used to drink red wine, and so I'm just going to only try the alcohol-free red wines. But I think what I love about the tasting room is it gives you a completely different view of drinks. So with things like, because you've got such a range, so I'm thinking of things like Sencha and Three Spirits and others that are completely different type kombuchas and different types of drinks to what people would have been drinking when they were drinking alcohol. So
Yeah, so not everything's a mimic is the important thing to say. And there are things in the adult space that are, you're right, that might be a fermented tea that feel very different to a fermented tea that you would have from a health food shop, which might be full of fruit or ginger and things. But instead it's designed to go with food. I mean, it's a method of production of drinks, and you can make all sorts of amazing things with that production method. And again, we've got mood enhancing drinks that are not designed to taste like gin or anything. They're their own thing that you can still top up with tonic or use in a cocktail. So yeah, it's an ever-changing world. If you can imagine that in 2017, none of these brands were here, and now we could fill this shop probably 4 or 5 times over, then you'll know that there's a lot of choice out there. And some of them are using, you know, old style recipes, ancient recipes, like for shrubs. You know, there are many ways to extract flavor from plants and things in order to put them into a drink. And alcohol is one way to extract flavor, but vinegar's another. And shrubs create these lovely acidic notes that you would expect from an adult alcohol-free drink, which is why they drank them during the Prohibition era in the States. But these are ancient techniques, as some of them aren't very new. They're actually been around for a while. But again, providing and creating drinks that both work for bartenders for alcoholic and alcohol-free cocktails. So yeah, there's a lot out there and there's a lot to explore. And we do private tailored tastings so we can help match you with a drink that will suit you. And we do cocktail classes so you can learn how to make great cocktails too.
Yeah, I think if you happen to be in London or anywhere near London, definitely check it out because it's a great space.
Yeah, and I always say to everybody, there's 2 really important things about an alcohol-free drink. One is that it should feel like a reward, because obviously alcohol fits very much into our reward structure. We go, oh, it's been a busy day, a stressful day, I deserve something nice. I mean, chocolate also fits into my reward structure. So, you know, they have to feel like a reward, not what you've been drinking all day to hydrate. And then the second is their social inclusion in a bottle. They mean that when you go to an event and everybody's feeling celebratory with a glass of bubbly, you've got something that makes you feel included and is celebratory as well, and that you're you're not felt like you're being othered in a social situation. I think that's really important, that you've got the drink that you want. And if that drink's a Diet Coke, then that's okay too. But for many of us, we want to have the right drink in the right glass and feel part of the same occasion.
Yeah, really important point. And I love that social inclusion in a bottle. I love that phrase.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's really all about that. It's about, it's similar to vegetarianism or veganism. You want people to feel like they have a choice and it's not a massive deal. And I think we're not quite there yet with alcohol free, but that's where we need to get to, really. Just
Yeah, absolutely. We
people the
learn a
choice
lot.
regardless.
Yeah, we learn a lot from the vegetarian movement at Club Soda. So
Brilliant. So we talked briefly about your journey and doing a course that just wasn't ethical. And if someone is listening at the moment and thinking, this all sounds very exciting, okay, you can do the alcohol-free options, try that. But if they were thinking, how do I take a break? What maybe are 3 tips that you could give them to kickstart their journey?
yeah, I'd say I've got loads of tips. Terrible. I've got so much to say.
More than 3, keep going. Love it.
I would say do consider more than a month. Do consider 3 months. I think 3 months is a charm. By that point, particularly if you've been drinking quite heavily, I think you begin to feel the energy benefits of having not drunk. I napped for England in my first 3 months, and by the time I got to 3 months, everything began to click and my energy came back. It also gives you enough time to know what things improve, because sometimes it's the subtlest things. It might be, for example, that the whites of my eyes got whiter, they were a bit yellow before, or that your mood is generally overall better, or that you can trust your gut feeling a lot more, or that you just spend money better because you're making better decisions, not based on the fact that you're always tired with a hangover. And it's really nice to be able to collate that data, as well as some big things you'll be expecting, like how many days you've not drunk and maybe whether you've lost some weight and some of those things. So it's really important to give yourself some space to do that. And 3 months would have also tested you in terms of some big occasions where you would have been expected to drink, like maybe a wedding or a party or a celebration or a birthday, on some of those things. So I think that's a really good period of time to be able to make a decision. Often after a few weeks, we think, oh, we've got this licked, and that ambivalence kicks in. And then we realize that it takes a bit longer than that, and it certainly does. The second is that I think you should become a social architect. If there's a social life that you want, and that social life isn't about being in the pub every evening, then take control of that social life and organize the things for you and your friends that are not orientated around booze. It doesn't mean that booze isn't present, but a cinema evening, doing a long walk to a pub, going to silent movies, going to the theatre, going whitewater rafting, these are all things that have not got alcohol at the centre. And Millie from Sober Girl Society says that when she organises events for her and her friends always talk about the events that she organised long after they've happened, whereas nobody talks about the other evening in a pub that was just another evening in the pub. So, I think you'll get lots of friend and popularity points that way. To become a social architect. The other is it's really easy to want to add eating well and exercising lots into the same goal. But it means that if you then eat some chocolate or you don't go for that run, you're likely to hit the stop it button. I'm being very polite there because I'd normally say the F word. But anyway, the F button on everything and just decide that you're a failure. And so it's really important that you focus on changing your drinking. And if you want some Haribo, then stuff some Haribo in your face, because sugar really does help in the first few months, I can tell you. And you can definitely deal with the sugar later once you've got alcohol under control. So see running and meditation and yoga and eating well as supporting your alcohol-free goal rather than being an equal goal in its own right. And then do immerse yourself in lots of communities, read lots of books, listen to lots of podcasts. Not everything you hear, you'll listen to things that I've said today and go, well, that doesn't apply to me, or that's not very relevant to me. Well, of course it won't, because I can only give you my experience. But if you listen to and immerse yourself in lots of different people's experiences, there'll be lots of different things that click with you and will help you in your journey, because not everybody's life is the same and we've all got slightly different pressures. So definitely finding lots of sources of support will help that. And being part of a community where other people are doing a similar thing to you is really helpful. Because if there are people a few months ahead of you, you'll be able to see from speaking to them that the sky doesn't fall in if you give up drinking.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's so important, the community piece, because I think a lot of people who decide they want to take a break from drinking just can't see it. I don't have anyone around them. And so they don't get it. And if you don't meet community and see others and maybe hear from people slightly ahead of you,
And
you're
I
it's a
I do
hardship.
recognise this from our community where people were really frightened about making new friends. And
Mm.
I think making friends is one of the most amazing things that you can do in your life. But you have to put yourself in friends' way, right? You can't just stay at home. And literally, the internet has made it so much easier for you to find people who might be interested in the same things as you. And that might be that you want to go to a knitting club, or you might want to go to, I joined a silent movie group when I gave up drinking to go and watch silent movies. And, you know, there's all sorts of things in your past and your present that you know you enjoy. There'll be people who meet to do that. And it doesn't have to become your lifelong passion. It just has to distract you and help you find new friends now. And often we're really frightened about losing our social life, but it's worth doing a realistic audit of your social life as it has been with drinking, because the chances are that you're worried that you'll never be able to go clubbing again. But then you realize that it's been 20 years since you went to a nightclub anyway. So what you're doing is you're stopping yourself from giving up drinking because you're basically hoping for your youth back, but that's gone, mate. So be realistic about what it was that you were doing socially and what it is that you would like to do socially. Because I found that, yeah, I don't want to stay as late at things as I did before, but actually that doesn't matter because I now get up and I do brunch and I do lunch, and then I can meet somebody else in the afternoon, and my Saturday can have 4 social occasions, whereas before it may have had none because I was too hungover to go back out again.
Yeah, so true. Such good tips. And I think the whole doing it for more than a month is really important, because a lot of people do dry January and then that's it. And I've spoken to quite a few people recently where they've said, this is my 5th or 6th dry January, and I'm just beginning to think maybe I want to go longer. And so I think that having a few months, I always say 90 to 100 days, but yeah, I think it's absolutely right just to really see those benefits coming through.
Yeah, absolutely. And don't underestimate what you've learned from all those previous occasions. And if at any point you end up having an alcoholic drink during that 3 months, it's not a failure. Just pick yourself up, dust yourself down, and carry on, because you will have learned from that too. And it's a marathon, not a sprint.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, cool. So is there anything that's coming up in the club soda tasting rooms world that you want to talk about?
Yeah, I mean, we've tried to make it as engaging a space as possible. So if you want to come to a cocktail class, we run them a few times a month. If you want to come to a private tasting, you can do that. Other people run events in our space, and we try and promote those as well. So do have a look at that. And basically, we're trying to spend more time to get more people into the space so they can discover alcohol-free drinks, really. So we do lots of work with the brands and hospitality that you won't see behind the scenes. So I'm doing lots of trade shows this year where I'm running panel talks about alcohol-free. We've got some research coming out. All of this stuff is about making the world an easier place to navigate for you and I who don't drink, or those people who want to moderate their drinking on an evening out. And we've got a busy, packed agenda, a bit too packed in some ways. So it's a bit frightening. But anyway, these are things that you can do now that you've got a bit more energy.
Absolutely. And so where do you see it going?
I don't know, really. My aim is to put myself out of business, really, isn't it? Because I want everywhere, including shops, to have a good range of alcohol free. And so I don't believe that the tasting room would be necessary in the future if I succeed. So that's my goal, but there's still a lot of work to do till then. And I really do want to work with people like you and other people who are big fans of alcohol free drinks. You don't have to.
Are
Sorry.
they crawling behind
They're
us?
crawling behind me.
Oh,
This is
come say
Nicola.
hello.
Hello.
How are you? It's so lovely to see you.
Oh, likewise, exactly. I know you.
You
Yeah,
do.
Nicholas is our head of creative here at Club Soda.
I
Oh,
had
wow.
a whole evening with Nicholas because my husband's Nicholas as well. And so we were there. And
Yeah.
yes, he's lovely.
There you
Lovely
are.
seeing you.
Good to see you.
But yes, you can come for a cocktail class with Nicholas, and the space is here for everybody, really. We love to promote other people's events. We love to be able to share what Club Soda does with everybody. We'll probably be popping up at some shows like the Free From Allergy and Free From show and other places so that people can try different drinks.
Brilliant, brilliant. That's great. And I think getting the word out, and as I said, it's just a game changer for people, really, when you realize how many options there are, and it isn't what it was like. Even 3 years ago when I stopped drinking, there were probably a couple of things that were nice.
And I think that's, I was about to say before I was rudely interrupted by people crawling around behind me, that for me, activating other people like you to help in our mission is really important. So over this year, we're going to be thinking about different ways to activate customers so that you become advocates as well, because with your help, we can get more restaurants, more bars, more shops with a good alcohol-free range.
Yeah, brilliant. And I talk about this all the time just because it's a bit of a bugbear of mine. Conferences.
I'm redoing my leaflet called Ditch the Orange Juice. I'm literally having a fight with an event that we're going to talk at where the caterers are literally saying, no, that would involve the organisers paying more money. And I said, no, you don't need to pay more money. You need to spend less on the alcohol and put in some more alcohol free. It's not about more budget. And I cannot get through to them. They are absolutely, and we're going to go and speak at this conference and we're going to call out bad practice. And then they're all going to go to a drinks reception with said bad practice, because I've seen that there's orange juice for the alcohol free option.
Oh, I just I don't get it. I don't know why it's so hard. And
Well, I can tell you a couple of reasons why, which is that the catering industry has been set up for ages with a little pro forma where the client ticks how much wine and beer do you want on sale or return, and then how many people do you think won't be drinking, and then they'll provide that many units of orange juice, and nobody wants there to be wastage, so everyone's always really cautious. And nobody thinks about it and nobody questions it. And then the caterers, for them, the money they get on the orange juice is worth far more than the money they got on anything else. And so it's easy money for them. And then they do order from wholesalers that have a very poor range. And I know exactly who those wholesalers are, Bid Foods, Sodexo, and they could do better to make it easier for those venues to ask for alcohol free. And I've made for this particular event, I've said, look, it's dry January. Half the people will not be drinking at this event, but you have not provided any alcohol free. And the caterer still isn't listening. It's just stunning, absolutely stunning. So more of that material to give you power.
Yeah, I think it's really important because I think pubs and restaurants are getting better, but the conferences, the events side is
yes, it's amazing.
Still pretty shocking. But it will happen. I've been banging on about it, so it will happen.
Absolutely. Well, remind me to send you my new leaflet, and I'll have it up as a blog on our website as well. So we'll be doing it for this event at the end of the month.
Yeah, perfect. Good. Okay, so I always end with, what does thriving alcohol-free mean to you?
So thriving alcohol-free, for me, was about reconnecting with my values. It's really important to me. I'm very value-driven. I really care. I'm very passionate about things in the world. I began to think when I was drinking that I wasn't able to do anything about anything anymore because I just felt so drained and so tired. And once I gave up drinking, I felt like the person I was when I was 20, and then it was possible to change things. And so for me, that's what thriving felt like. So like I say, it's not always about the physical changes. Sometimes it's about getting back to the person that you were and that you thought you were.
Yeah, that's a really amazing answer. And I think it's so true. You find your authentic self, don't you? And you love your authentic self again as well. So that's, brilliant. I love that. Thank you so much for being on. Is there anything you'd like to leave people with? How can people get in touch, etc.?
So you can find us at joinclubsoda.com, and our website where you can order drinks as well and do our courses is joinclubsoda.com. And then thank you guys for also dealing with the fact that we've got the noises of the shop all around us.
Well, we love it. I love the fact you're there and it's in full swing. And thank you so much for taking the time.
No problem. All right.
Speak to you soon. Thanks. Bye. Well, thank you, Laura. What a lovely conversation. And it's wonderful that you did it within the tasting room. So if you get a chance, if you're in Covent Garden or near Covent Garden or just happen to be in London, why not check out the tasting rooms? There's such a wonderful selection of drinks, all sorts of low and no alcohol drinks, and you can literally taste them and decide what you want to go away with, so you're not risking it really. When we look at alcohol-free drinks, you never know if you want to buy a whole bottle of something just in case you don't like it. So if you head to the tasting rooms, you can try the selection and then to really decide what you like, and you might find you actually like something completely different to what you maybe would normally drink. And that's the joy, I think. Now, over 3 years since I stopped drinking, there's so much choice when it comes to non-alcoholic drinks, and you don't just have to substitute what you've always drunk. So if you've always drunk gin, it doesn't mean you have to go straight for an alcohol-free gin. If you've always drunk red wine, and I know a lot of people struggle to find red wines that they like, try for something else. Try something that's completely different. And that's the joy of the tasting rooms. So I really encourage you to go and check that out. And then also, I loved what she said about having a quality of experience, because I do think giving people the choice and making sure that if you go out, just because you're not drinking, it doesn't mean you don't want to have an adult drink. And so, why not give people the choice? And with her 3 tips for taking a break, I absolutely agree with her. Consider taking 3 months, because that's when you really notice the benefits and you have enough time to go through those alcohol-free bursts and enjoy it. So it's a week after Dry January finished. If for whatever reason you've thought, oh, I'll have a drink, and you've had one and you've not quite enjoyed it as much as you thought you would, why not just go for 3 months and see what happens? I'd love to hear how you get on, and the benefits you see after a month are very different to the ones you see after 3. So if you can, keep going. Anyway, on that note, thank you again for listening. I hope you've enjoyed the episode, and don't forget, if a retreat is something that might be of interest this year and you want to step outside of your comfort zone and do something a bit different and travel over to Bali, I'd love you to join me in the Finding Freedom retreat. So feel free to get in touch. All the details are in the show notes, and I look forward to seeing you on the next episode. Take care. Thank you so much for listening to the Thrive Alcohol Free podcast. If you enjoyed the episode, please subscribe so you get alerted every time I drop a new episode. I'd love it if you could rate, review, and share this episode. Feel free to tag me on Instagram at Thrive Alcohol Free and follow me for daily tips. If you would like to work with me, I offer one-to-one coaching sessions and have my signature Thrive Alcohol Free Society group coaching program. If you're not yet ready for coaching, I also have a self-paced online course, which is a companion to my book, A Cocktail of Clarity. All the links are in the show notes. I will see you in the next episode. Have a wonderful week. Take care.